if you don't want Heartline, who would be your ideal outside hire? And I'm pretty sure that's where you were going as well.
I don't know yet. This was funny
Okay.
about it. I don't know. I believe Ohio State, outside maybe a couple teams, can get almost can call any college offensive coordinator right now and get them in Columbus for an interview, or get them in Columbus to hire them. I believe we can do that. I think it just depends on whose system it is, and that's why I'm not really worried about the defensive coordinator position. You can get someone from San Jose State, and it might
We'll
work.
talk about that later.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to affect as much as the offense can, but or it can still go well. I think for our offense, man, there's just too much good on it for it to go bad. I just don't think it can go bad. I don't see a situation where it could happen. So for me, it's just make a good hire.
The only way I see it going "quote unquote" bad is they have this will be this really third straight year where they've had a first-time starting quarterback. But this time, it's going to be someone who doesn't have a whole lot of experience playing. Like Will Howard had he'd started 3 straight years, at Kansas State. So he knew how to play winning football. He knew what it took to win, and obviously we saw he won at the highest level. Kyle McCord didn't really know how to win. He didn't know the experience. He didn't have the experience that he needed in order to beat, to win that final game, which could have also helped Ohio State play for national title there. So, having your options be Julian Sayin, Lincoln Kean-Holtz, or Tavian St. Clair, that can be tough for an incoming OC, no matter who it is, just because you don't know what you're going to get out of that position yet. So that's the only way I really see it going bad. The offensive line, I worry about a little bit now that Fry is gone. That hire is also going to be key. So I actually think in a way, it's actually good that both the offensive coordinator and the offensive line coach are gone, because now you can kind of marry those hires. You can, when you get the OC, you pick, okay, what do you really value up front? What are the traits you're looking for? What scheme do you like to run? Let's go ahead and find that guy for you and make that hire. So I think that makes that hire a little bit easier. But the fact that they would have a new quarterback, that's the only thing. Yeah, that's the only way where I think this hire goes "quote unquote" wrong.
Yeah, in my perfect world, I was gonna say, like in my perfect world, if we could find someone who has some offensive line experience and be like a co-OC.
I've seen some Buckeye fans want Kevin Wilson to come back because of the fact that he was the co-OC and he has got offensive line experience, worked with the tight ends. He's intimately familiar with Ohio State, and I don't know how I would feel about that necessarily. I don't think he's a bad play caller. I don't think he's a great play caller. If you're going to hire someone from outside, I'd rather hire someone with a higher ceiling. Wilson's, kind of older. I know he's also going to want to look for another head coaching spot. He didn't really succeed at Tulsa. Obviously, the whole reason he was available for Ohio State was because he got fired at IU for treatment of players and whatnot. So I would like to go outside of that hiring tree if they can. I've also heard some people say they want to try to get Tommy Rees. That's the big name that I've heard all of Ohio State fans really want to get. The issue with Tommy Rees is first of all, he doesn't really, he's young. He's only 32. He also literally just took the Cleveland Browns job. He's now their offensive coordinator. In order to bring him back down to the college level, you saw how much Chip Kelly just got paid to be a coordinator. I don't know how much Reese is making, but it won't be cheap to bring him back down to the collegiate level. He's only been an offensive coordinator at the college level once, and that was with Alabama back in 2023. I guess he was the offensive coordinator at Notre Dame as well before that, so excuse me. He's done it for multiple years. But he's still – the main issue is getting him out of Cleveland down to Columbus, make that I-71 trip down. And I don't think that's realistic for him to want to make that decision unless he gets up there and realizes just how much of a shit show Jimmy Haslam is, which he is. Jimmy Haslam is a shit show. So, we know that's true. So there's going to be a lot of other names thrown out there. But like I said, Day is going to take his time. He's going to make sure they get the right guy. And he's not going to stop until he finds that guy.
I do have one name. I have two names. And I was like, what names do I know that I like, that I've either heard or like offenses I've paid attention to a lot this season? Charlie Weiss Jr.
Interesting. Okay.
Out of Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a really good program, but it's a very small D1 program. Ohio State has the money. I think we have more resources. I think we have the talent. I think like I said, these are people that I would just want to give a call to. Like when we talked about defense, I say, you know what? I will call Dante Lynn. That's just someone like in my perfect world. That's someone I will call because if I see something that I like it. The other one was their culture over at Boise State. I think what they were able to do in the run game this season was very impressive just due to the fact that the offensive line is not the same offensive line that other programs have. Outside of that, again, I'm not worried so much about who we really have at OC.
Okay.
If I was told Brian Hartline was the first choice, I am not upset. I am not upset.
I don't know if I'd be upset. So to your point about Charlie Weiss Jr., I don't think that's necessarily a bad name. It does concern me with what I saw in those games that Ole Miss lost, which is the whole reason they did make college football playoff. You only score 17 points at home against Kentucky, and you only score you score 26 points against LSU, but you lose that game. That one was on the road. I get that's a little bit tougher, but you only scored 26 at home against a really bad Oklahoma team. So I'm not saying that would necessarily be bad. You only score 17 against Florida in a loss. So again, I'm not saying that would be a horrible name. Again, if you're making calls to outside candidates, I think he should be on the list. I do think that's a call you make. But we'll see. I see some people now here in the chat saying no Tommy Rees. They don't want Tommy, which is interesting.
Well, do you think Ohio State is a place where you should be able to learn on the job? If you allowed Ryan Day to do it, do you? Because I forget who said this.
I was going to say Ryan Day did it.
No, it was, I was listening to the Cover 3 podcast, and I think it was Tom Fornelli that said it. He said Ohio State is not a job where you learn not a place where you learn on the job. And I was like, Ryan Day literally has been doing that for the last 6 years. So
well, normally I would say no. But obviously, like you mentioned, Ryan Day did it when he became the head coach. He was a first-time head coach at that time. And quite frankly, when Day was hired to be the offensive coordinator, he hadn't been an offensive coordinator before. He was brought in as the co-OC in 2017. And along with Wilson. And he had never called plays before up until that point. So they're obviously more comfortable with it now. I think it depends on who you are trying to bring in to, quote unquote, learn on the job. So if it ends up being Hartline, he has been in the program for quite a while. He obviously has the trust of the wide receivers. He's got a great list. He's got a great group of guys there at the receiver position. I think you worry a little bit about being a first-time play caller, coming off a national championship. But also at the same time, I think that would kind of be the perfect scenario for something like that, where the expectations aren't hey, we've got to win, otherwise we're going to run you out of town because we're just coming off a national title. So you could have a little bit more time to learn on the job if that were the case. So I do think it would be interesting